Hi everyone, just wanted to go over a few quiz questions from this past week. Hope everyone had a good week. I apologize, I was, as you know, away at a conference this past week, so wasn't around quite as much as normal, but hope everyone had a good week and learned lots. I actually went to two different conferences over this past week. Spoke at a conference, health information management conference, and then caught part of a nursing research conference. So had learned some really interesting stuff and brought that back here to RMU with me. So just wanted to go over some of the information from this past week, and it's hard to believe we're in week 7 already. So I can't even believe, I don't even know where the term went. But so I have 3 questions that I do want to go over. The first one, actually, are they all true false? No, they're not. Okay, so this first one is true false. The Affordable Care Act provides for the establishment of voluntary self-disclosure protocol under which providers of services and suppliers may self-disclose disclose actual or potential violations of the physician self-referral statute under Medicare. So this is true. And what this is talking about, obviously anyone could at any point make a self-disclosure uh, to Medicare, to any government agency, if they felt that they were doing something inappropriate. We can always turn ourselves in to the government or to the police or to whomever for doing something wrong. We all know that. But what the Affordable Care Act did was it actually created this voluntary self-disclosure protocol, which kind of put in place the ability to, I don't want to say have a lesser penalty, but kind of create a kinder, gentler situation for an organization that maybe have some violations of the self-referral rules. And I think what had been found was that uh, many organizations kind of had their head in the sand with regard to these types of rules, which unfortunately willful neglect is not. Is still considered a violation. If you're just not paying attention to what the rules are, it doesn't mean that you get to do those things inappropriately. But what the ACA, part of the ACA, did have this voluntary self-disclosure protocol where it did allow for providers to come forward, say, hey, we think we're messing this up, and maybe the government would take it a little easier on them and allow them to maybe just pay back damages, etc., as opposed to coming at them with real heavy fines in those instances. So the answer to that case is true, that there is, in fact, this self-disclosure protocol. Next one is about the False Claims Act. So the False Claims Act the False Claims Act protects the government from being overcharged or sold substandard goods or services. And when you really think about what the False Claims Act is, that's really what it is. And the False Claims Act is a very, very old law that was in place. Not what, we think of false claims as Medicare claims or as insurance claims, but really what it's about is making sure that the government is not paying for something it's not getting. So it's not really about an insurance claim, but about the government not getting what it's being charged for. So in the case of healthcare, it's the government not getting the healthcare or the service that it's being charged for with regard to a false claim. So when you think about a healthcare claim, maybe upcoding. So maybe the upcoding is a famous version of false claims, where maybe a physician practice is performing a level 2 office visit, which is, there's 5 levels of office visit, 1 through 5, we'll say, and a level 2 would be maybe a fairly minor office visit, maybe someone coming in with sniffles and maybe has a minor respiratory infection, but so that would be a 99212 would be the medical code for that, but the physician codes for a level 4 office visit, 99214. So that would be considered upcoding. So the 99214 is going to pay quite a bit more than the level 2, and so if they were to therefore upcode that visit and charge the government or an insurance company for that higher level visit, that would be considered a false claim because they are overcharging the government in those instances. A more extreme example would be to simply code for or charge the government for services not rendered. So that would be another situation there. So those are false claims. Now, there are many times when you think about fraud and abuse overall, and false claims can come into play in those instances as well. When they are maybe an organization is just looking to defraud the government in different ways, maybe by filing false claims, maybe by laundering money, maybe by inappropriate use of prescriptions, etc. But when we're thinking about the False Claims Act, it's typically by overcharging or by not providing a service that they are charging the government for. So that's what a false claim is. So our answer in this case was that the False Claims Act protects the government from being overcharged or sold substandard goods or services. And let's see, the last question here is, what is a safe harbor? So safe harbors are used in a couple of different types of regulations, but in this case we're talking about the anti-kickback statute, and there's a whole section of in the classroom about the safe harbors. And what safe harbors are they are elements of the anti-kickback statute that would normally be something that would be prosecutable under the anti-kickback statute. So I'm actually going to bring up the classroom here for a second so I can mention one off the top of my head. So it would be something that would normally be prosecuted, something that would be a problem under the anti-kickback statute. But because of the need for these situations to be in place in order for the healthcare system to function properly, they put what they've called these safe harbors in place. So, for example, one of the safe harbors has to do with employee compensation. So normally the financial relationships between hospitals and physicians, for example, would normally not be something that would be allowed with regard to under the anti-kickback statute. You can't be passing money back and forth between physicians and hospitals because it can be seen as a kickback from a referral entity to someone that is from one person that's referring to a person that's receiving finances from that referral. So you don't want to be having that financial relationship between those two agencies. However, there are many physicians that work for hospitals, so you need to have some kind of protection there. So and this is one of the existing safe harbors that existed all the way back to 1991 when this rule was first put in place, was employee compensation. So so that safe harbor was put in place that said, well, we realize that physicians do work for hospitals, so that type of financial arrangement is okay. We know that physicians are going to refer services to hospitals, and we know that those physicians are likely going to work for hospitals. Now, there are still going to be rules that are going to have to be put in place in that physicians can't refer every service to their own hospital, et cetera, et cetera. But that employee compensation is going to be okay. That is going to be a safe harbor. And there are many others, such as investments in ambulatory surgery centers, different types of joint ventures that were okay, investments in group practices, etc. So there are many types of situations where shared arrangements between physicians or practitioners and larger organizations such as hospitals, those financial arrangements could fall within what they call these safe harbors, and not necessarily implicate the anti-kickback statutes. They could be okay, and there's one document in the classroom from last week that discusses all of that. So that's what that safe harbor is. That means it's safe, it's okay. It is something that would normally be prosecuted, but will not be prosecuted in the world of the anti-kickback statute. So that's all we had from last week. If you have any other questions on the items from last week, please let me know. This week there's a lot. There's a lot in there to read, but I think I've tried to note there's some of it that's more just for you to review. There are some interesting, important things to read, but other items that are just really more for your review than anything else. But then we are going to learn a little bit about just culture and patient safety this week. I think you've probably learned a little bit about that already in some of your other coursework. But then there's a couple of videos, some follow-up on quality initiatives, those types of things as well. So, and then some info on evidence-based practice. So that kind of feeds into the quality and safety work as well. But really, it kind of brings together the whole legal, ethical, moral piece. Providing the best, most safe, and most ethical medicine is really all fits well within the just culture, the realm of just culture. So that's all I've got for this week. Remember, next week, week 8, is a short week. And we're rapidly approaching the end of the spring term. So any questions, please let me know, and look forward to seeing everyone in the discussion boards. Thanks so much.